Hey guys, Simon here. We're playing Assassin's Creed 1 and we're going to do our architecture tour of the middle district of Jerusalem in game, which roughly corresponds to the Christian quarter in the real world Old Jerusalem. So the Christians were here in this part of town. So it's kind of, like here. So the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and the Citadel, or the Tower of David Museum, as it is today. The church is like there, and the Tower of David is there. That's the two landmarks that we can actually find in the game. So the first thing we're gonna look at, I think, is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So if you look at that, there's like two domes, and there's other things there. You can see that there, two domes, like a tower there, and then the entrance is like there, right? And then if we look at Wikipedia, it looks like that. And then in the game, it looks exactly the same. Look at that, it looks exactly the same. So obviously these guys have done their research and they've pretty much rebuilt the Church of the Holy Sepulchre into the game, which is pretty awesome. Alright, so let's look at the Wikipedia article to see what we can see, or what we can learn. It's a Romanesque and Baroque. I guess the Baroque part is later on. It's a Basilica, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, also called the Basilica of the Holy Sepulchre, or the Church of the Resurrection by Eastern Christians, is a church within the Christian quarter of the walled old city of Jerusalem. It is a few steps away from the Muristan. What is that? The Muristan? The Muristan? The market of Muristan, with the Muristan fountain at its center. Huh. I don't know about this. 2nd century BC. The area just south of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre has a long tradition dating to the days of Yehuda ha-Maccabi. Based on incident, I don't know what this means. So the square, apparently it's also important. Crusade, oh, well, let's read about that later on. Let me just quickly see if I can... Unless that's it. Or maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe we should look around. We'll do that later. We'll do that later. Apparently there's that thing. The site is venerated as Golgotha, the hill of Calvary, where Jesus was crucified. Wait, here? He was crucified right here? There's supposed to be a hill here, though. And is said to also contain the place where Jesus was buried, the sepulchre. But is he really here, though? The church has been a paramount, and for many Christians, the most important pilgrimage destination since at least the 4th century. As the purported site of the resurrection of Jesus, today it also serves as the headquarters of the Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem. While control of the building is shared between several Christian churches and secular entities in complicated arrangements, essentially unchanged for centuries. Oh great! Simultaneum. Yeah, great. Today the church is home to branches of Eastern Orthodoxy and Oriental Orthodoxy, as well as to Roman Catholicism. Anglican and Protestant Christians have no permanent presence in the church, and some have regarded the alternative garden tomb elsewhere in Jerusalem as the true place of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. I don't know, like nobody even knows for sure, right? So Jesus was killed right here, guys. Right here. Construction in the early 2nd century, the site of the present church had been a temple of Aphrodite. Well, not anymore. Several ancient writers alternatively describe it as a temple to Venus, the Roman equivalent to Aphrodite. Eusebius claims in his Life of Constantine that the site of the church had originally been a Christian place of veneration, but that Hadrian had deliberately covered these Christian sites with earth and built his own temple on top due to his hatred for Christianity. What a hater. Although Eusebius does not say as much, the temple of Aphrodite was probably built as part of Hadrian's reconstruction of Jerusalem as Aelia Capitolina in 135, following the destruction of the Jewish revolt of 70 and the Bar Kokhba revolt of 120 or 132 to 135. So the Romans and the Jews did not really get along most of the time, so there you go. Let's not read too much about the Romans, because... although actually no, it was constructed back then, wasn't it? Emperor Constantine I, so he was like the first Christian emperor of the Roman Empire, if I remember right. ordered in about 325 or 326 that the temple be demolished and the soil, which had provided a flat surface for the temple, be removed. Oh. So that's why it's not a hill anymore. So it's supposed to be a hill where Jesus was crucified and buried. But now they removed the soil. So now it's flat. Instructing Macarius of Jerusalem, the local bishop, to build a church on the site. The Pilgrim of Bordeaux reports in 333, there at present, by the command of the Emperor Constantine, has been built a basilica, that is to say, a church of wondrous beauty. I don't know, it looks pretty plain from the outside, although the interior is pretty amazing. Constantine directed his mother, Helena, to build churches upon sites which commemorated the life of Jesus Christ. She was present in 326 at the construction of the church on the site and involved herself in the excavations and construction. During the excavation, Helena is alleged to have rediscovered the true cross. Yeah, but everybody says that. And a tomb, though Eusebius' account makes no mention of Helena's presence at the excavation nor of the finding of the cross, but only the tomb. What, they actually found the tomb? According to Eusebius, the tomb exhibited a clear and visible proof that it was the tomb of Jesus. But how do you know that? Socrates Scholasticus, born 380, in his ecclesiastical history. Wow, I've struggled with that one. Gives a full description of the discovery that was repeated later by Sozomen and by Theodoret, which emphasizes the role played in the excavations and construction by Helena, just as the Church of Nativity in Bethlehem, also founded by Constantine and Helena, commemorated the birth of Jesus. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre would commemorate the death and resurrection. But I mean, I don't think anyone's sure though. Anyway, Constantine's church was built as two connected churches over the two different holy sites, including a great basilica, the Martyrium, visited by Egeria in 380s, an enclosed colonnaded atrium, the Triportico, with the traditional site of Golgotha in one corner and a rotunda called the Anastasis, Resurrection, which contained the remains of a rock-cut room that Helena and Macarius identified as the burial site of Jesus. The rock face at the west end of the building was cut away, although it is unclear how much remained in Constantine's time, as archaeological investigation has revealed that the temple of Aphrodite reached far into the current rotunda area, and the temple enclosure would therefore have reached even further into the west. Okay. According to tradition, Constantine arranged for the rock face to be removed from around the tomb without harming it, in order to isolate the tomb. In the center of the rotunda is a small building called the Kouphokleion, modern Greek for small compartment, or aedicle, which supposedly encloses this tomb, although it's not currently possible to verify the claim, as the remains are completely enveloped by a marble sheath. Right, the discovery of the Cockham tombs just beyond the west end of the church, and more recent archaeological investigations of the rotunda floor suggest that a narrow spur of at least 10 yards length would have had to jut out from the rock face if the contents of the aedicule were once inside it. The dome of the rotunda was completed by the end of the 4th century. So there's the diagram. So there's where Jesus was crucified apparently, and then there's apparently where he was entombed. I don't know how accurate that is, to be perfectly honest, but you know. Each year, wait, is that right? Yeah, each year the Eastern Orthodox Church celebrates the anniversary of the consecration of the Church of the Resurrection on September the 13th for those churches, blah 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 blah. Damage and destruction. Wait a minute. Oh, it's not the original. This building was damaged by fire in 614 when the Persians, under Khosrau II, invaded Jerusalem and captured the cross. they took the cross. Well, that sucks. In 630, Emperor Heraclius Heraclius, marched triumphantly into Jerusalem and restored the true cross to the rebuilt Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Under the Muslims, it remained a Christian church. The early Muslim rulers protected the city's Christian sites, prohibiting their destruction and their use as living quarters. In 966, the doors and roof were burnt during a riot. On October 18th, 1009, Fatimid Caliph al-Hakim bi Amir Allah ordered the complete destruction of the church. Hey, that's not very nice. The measures against the church were part of a more general campaign against Christian places of worship in Palestine and Egypt, which involved a great deal of damage. That's not very cool. Ademar de Jabans recorded that the Church of St. George at Lydda, with many other churches of the saints, had been attacked, and the basilicas of the Lord's Sepulchre destroyed down to the ground. Well, that's gone now. The Christian writer Yahya ibn Sa'id reported that everything was razed except those parts which were impossible to destroy or would have been too difficult to carry away. The church's foundations were hacked down to bedrock. The aedicule and the east and west walls of the roof of the rock-cut tomb and encased were destroyed or damaged. Contemporary accounts vary, but the north and south walls were likely protected by rubble from further damage. The mighty pillars resisted disruption up to the height of the gallery pavement, and are now effectively the only remnant of the 4th century buildings. The mighty pillars resisted disruption up to the height of the gallery pavement. Okay. Some minor repairs were done to the sections believed to be the tomb of Jesus almost immediately after 1009, but a true attempt at restoration would have to wait for decades. Europeans' reaction was of shock and dismay, with far-reaching and intense consequences. For example, the Cluniac monk Rudolphus Glaber blamed the Jews. Why would you blame the Jews? The Muslim caliph. He's just an anti-Semitic, isn't he? He blamed the Jews. What? With the result that the Jews were expelled from Limoges and other French towns. Ultimately, this destruction proved an impetus for the later Crusades. Why'd you blame the Jews? These people, man. These people. Okay, well, that's exactly like it is in the game. In wide-ranging negotiations between the Fatimids and the Byzantine Empire in 1027 to 28, an arrangement was reached whereby the new Caliph Ali al-Zahir, al-Hakim's son, agreed to allowing the rebuilding and redecoration of the church. The rebuilding was finally completed with the financing of the huge expense by the Emperor Constantine IX Monomachos and Patriarch Nicephorus of Constantinople in 1048. As a concession, the mosque in Constantinople was reopened, and sermons were to be pronounced in al-Zahir's name. Muslim sources say a byproduct of the agreement was the recounting of Islam by many Christians who had been forced to convert under al-Hakim's prosecutions. In addition, the Byzantines, while releasing 5,000 Muslim prisoners, made demands for the restoration of other churches destroyed by al-Hakim and the re-establishment of a patriarch in Jerusalem. Contemporary sources credit the emperor with spending vast sums in an effort to restore the Church of the Holy Sepulchre after this agreement was made. Despite the Byzantines spending vast sums on the project, a total replacement was far beyond available resources. Wow! How much could it possibly cost to build a church? The new construction was concentrated on the rotunda and its surrounding buildings. The great basilica remained in ruins. The rebuilt church site consisted of a court open to the sky, with 5 small chapels attached to it. Oh, I see. The chapels were to the east of the Court of Resurrection, where the wall of the great church had been. They commemorated scenes from the Passion, such as the location of the prison of Christ and of his flagellation, and presumably were so placed because of the difficulties for free movement among shrines in the streets of the city. The dedication of these chapels indicate the importance of the pilgrims' devotion to the suffering of Christ. They have been described as a sort of Via Dolorosa in miniature, since little or no rebuilding took place on the site of the Great Basilica. Ah. Western pilgrims to Jerusalem during the 11th century found much of the sacred site in ruins. Control of Jerusalem, and thereby the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, continued to change hands several times between the Fatimid and the Seljuk Turks, loyal to the Abbasid Caliph in Baghdad until the arrival of the Crusaders in 1099. Alright, here we go. So finally we're going to crusade. But before we go any further, so apparently the original Basilica is in that empty space there. And there's like 5 chapels built around that space in the restoration, but they couldn't afford to rebuild the entire basilica. So apparently that... oh, there's a flag there. So apparently that's what this is. Let me just take a break from reading, kill some people, and then grab that flag. Oh, hey guys. Hey, what are you doing? Nothing! And your friend did not help you at all. Look at that. Okay, where was the flag? It was like here, right? Yeah, here it is. I also want to have a look for some sort of marketplace or square that was described in the Wikipedia article, but it doesn't seem like there... oh, there's a flag there too, you see that? It doesn't seem like there is one. I mean, there's the city walls there. Unless this is it. It's not very impressive though, is it? Or maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. There's a fountain there, there's a little thing there. Or maybe it's just not in the game. That's also possible. Also possible that they just kind of left it out. Alright, let's go grab the flag that I saw earlier. It was like... wait a minute, where was it? Was it behind here? Oh, it was there. I can see it there. How to get there? I think... let me jump onto that ladder there. Or miss the ladder. Alright, where's that flag? That flag is behind this building. Behind here. And... wait a minute. Oh, there. There we go. Great. Okay. So back to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre here. There we go.